that door closed, so I guess I should get started. Do I need a microphone?
No.
Cool. Welcome to my session on getting started with FIRST. My name's Nikki Stout. Some people know me as Nikki Panda, and I'm sure you're wondering, how am I qualified to talk about getting started with FIRST? Well, I'm an alumni. I was on Team 2016 from 2007, which is the rookie year. I was an 8th grader until 2011. That was my senior year, where we ended up 2nd place on Einstein, which was really fun. I was that business kid mixed with mechanical because we didn't really have set roles on my team. We kind of did, but I was so all over the place, and I was so excited to do so much. They just kind of let me do whatever I wanted. I started mentoring in 2012 when I was in college. I started on 1089, which is Team Mercury out in Hightstown. I ended up, my best friend was the lead mentor of 2495. So I started mentoring them for a little bit. I had a brief moment where I moved to Texas, and I ended up on the Robo Wranglers, which is 148. And then I moved back home. It's not listed, but I was on 5666 for a year. And I found my home on 1807 with my wonderful kids who like to call me Mama Bear. I've also been volunteering since 2015. That was the year I really got involved in volunteering. I was a senior in college. I had more time to do so, even though I was trying to finish college. And I've been a master of ceremonies at different places, first Mid-Atlantic, first in Texas, New England first. I've done Detroit Championships, I've done New York City first, and I have gone all over the place for various events in the off season. And this past year I also was a volunteer, which means they did stuff with astronauts in space, which was actually really cool. And then for the last year and this year, I'm part of the volunteer feedback group. So we meet each quarter, talk about ways to improve FIRST for volunteers. And their definition of a volunteer includes being a mentor and at an event as a volunteer. And then this year, I started working with diversity inclusion projects to try to get FIRST to be more diverse. So, what am I going to go over? First off, it's going to be Mentoring 101. There's a lot of resources on the FIRST website for mentors, but I broke it down to be a little easier to digest since it's a little overwhelming. There's also youth protection. Does everyone know what the youth protection program is in here? Raise your hand. Yes. If you don't know, that's okay. You're going to learn about it today. Then I'm going to take a little break for questions, since this is a little long. And then I'm going to go into event volunteering. I'm going to focus on FRC, but I can also talk about FTC and FLL. And then again, questions. Sound good? All right. So first up, Mentoring 101, a crash course. So what is a mentor when it comes to FIRST? It's people from all backgrounds and disciplines who work with students to share their knowledge. And they contribute on a weekly basis during competition season or support the team with subject matter expertise as an on-needed basis, or as-needed basis. So you don't have to be there every day. You don't have to go every week. They can email you if you have a question, and you could be considered a mentor. It's up to the coach of that team to decide who is considered a mentor and who is not. And mentors also help to foster the idea of gracious professionalism and have the students do as much work as possible. For those who don't know, gracious professionalism, it's a way of doing things that encourages high quality work, emphasizes the value of others, and respects individuals in the community, all while competing like crazy. And they help students learn, and like I just said, compete like crazy, but treat one another with respect and kindness in the process. It kind of goes with our core values throughout all of the programs. Since there, I believe, 10, and I'm sorry, I don't remember all 10, but there's 10 of them. Gracious professionalism is pretty much encompassing all of them. So what are the mentor's responsibilities? You have to inspire the students in science and technology. You should be motivating and engaging students in meaningful activities. So helping them build a robot, helping them CAD, or just making sure they're being safe while they're doing it. Create open communication within the team, because sometimes working on a team, it's hard if people are not the best communicators. And no one is born being an amazing communicator. It's a skill we all have to learn, and we all have to practice in order to get good at it. So mentors are supposed to help make sure that we all learn how to communicate properly. And facilitate instruction. So ask questions when a kid has an idea to get them to think a little further compared to what they might have initially thought was a good idea. And then maintain process focus. Process focus is basically figuring out from point A to point B, how are we going to get there? So continued mentored responsibilities. You have kids do as much work as possible. Now some schools don't allow kids to use lathes, CNC routers, all the fancy stuff. That's fine. It would be nice if they could, but you also have to follow school or facility process, especially since people can get hurt. And then establish an environment of conducive to open and honest communication. It's kind of just going back to the make sure everyone's communicating. You have to make sure they're being honest about it. Show trust in and respect for every team member and their ideas. So I know some kids might want to just explain an idea, and then another kid, which is not the nicest way, say, that's not a good idea. You shouldn't be encouraging that kind of behavior, which I think all of us understand that. You have to basically make sure that everyone feels like their ideas are important and get them to feel that they can share these ideas regardless of how crazy or out there they might think it is. So that's part of encouraging kids to take risks and invent. So you have kids that typically come that are shy, just trying to get them to be open about their ideas and be excited about what they're doing, even if they're not entirely sure how to do it. And then encourage accountability. You want to make sure things get done. Because if they don't get done, and you don't have a robot, or you don't have a presentation, or you don't have whatever it is that you need to get done. So you have to encourage them to be able to say, hey, I got overwhelmed, I couldn't do this, I need help. So there's this how-to, mentoring for sustainability. This comes directly from FRC. This is how they like to picture a team being run. It's the learning and doing progress within 4 steps, because not every kid's going to show up and be amazing at drilling or designing or whatever it is. So you can start with, I'm going to do it as the mentor, and you're going to watch me do it, and I'm going to explain to you how it's done. And then it moves on to, I'm going to do it, but you're going to help me by either holding this, or you're going to drill these holes and do very specific things. And then it's, you're going to take the lead, and you're going to do most of the work, and I'm going to be here just to help you and answer questions. And then the student should be doing all of the work, and then you're just kind of there watching to keep them safe and making sure that they're following the right steps so you can course correct if needed. So how is this helpful? Students and other team members learn and assume more of the responsibility, which builds up their confidence, and it grows trust within the mentors, because then when they feel confident, they can share their ideas more or be more excited about just doing the work itself. And it helps them grow in their knowledge and understanding, and then eventually you won't need to teach them, they can start teaching themselves. That's one of the things I can at least talk about on 1807 is I don't really have to teach much. My kids, my senior kids, teach the younger kids what to do. And it's a very hands-off process for us mentors, with the exception of they have a question and it's a little bit above the pay grade of our current students. So how do you shift into that role where the students are teaching and leading? Well, you have to make sure he or she or they are fully prepared and know the subject well. So they should be confident, they should be able to take on the role, and you shouldn't have to give them much guidance in whatever it is they're trying to do. And you need to provide encouragement and make sure they're comfortable, because you might have someone who is fully capable but maybe they don't want to be in a leadership role yet, and that's okay. But then you also have to tell the rest of the participants, hey, so-and-so is going to be the lead on this part of the robot, or they're going to be the lead on this part of the code. Just to make sure it's clear to everyone that you go to these people when you have a question or a concern or want to help out with these parts. So, if you're trying to get a student who might be a little more shy, a little quiet, here's some techniques that FRC offers. You listen and watch for cues. So you listen more intently and you try to see where they're basically trying to go with their idea and help get it out of them, which could be verbal or nonverbal. You might have a kid like pointing and kind of like crossing or like doing different hand motions to try to communicate or say they want to communicate an idea, but they're not sure if they can. Or if they're nervous, they might be stuttering. They might be going a lot. They might be saying like, but then ask questions. Always ask questions, and most importantly, provide positive feedback. Kids need encouragement. Tell them something they did great, and then if you have to give constructive criticism, make sure it's offset with the positive. So be sensitive. Be mindful that they're still learning and growing. So this goes over it in finer details of active listening, but I don't believe I need to go through this part since I think I got the point across pretty well. So FRC has additional resources, including courses that mentors can take. So you have diversity and inclusion training. It's to help people understand how to get individuals who might not feel comfortable or try to get the makeup of the team look a little bit different to inspire people to join your team. There's the LGBTQ plus of FRC FAQ, which is a valuable resource because I understand that some people might not be entirely sure of how to handle pronouns and whatnot, and we're trying to make sure everyone feels inclusive. Then there's this very important thing of a non-medical incident report. This is not just for during events or events volunteered at. If you have an issue on your team, if you have an issue outside of an event, it could be something like this. It could be pretty much anything. As long as it's non-medical, you can fill out the form. And then, before we move on to youth protection, please make sure you know this person. If you have an issue with youth protection, you have to email Lee. She's a wonderful person. She really wants to hear from, well, she doesn't really want to hear in the sense that she doesn't want bad things happening, but if you feel like you need to reach out to youth protection, her email is there, her phone number is there. Does everyone want a moment to write it down?
Is sharing this presentation? This presentation will be shared?
I believe so. Does anyone have questions right now? No? Yes?
What is the diversity and inclusion training consist of?
For mentors, it's 3 different, basically, subsections. I don't know the right word, I'm blanking on it right now. And it focuses on just different aspects of FRC and trying to ensure that everyone is mindful of like language they use or actions that they could be causing and whatnot. There's also a diversity and inclusion for students that was made by students last year. I don't have that listed, but I believe on the diversity and inclusion page, you can get access to it as a student as well. It's just geared more towards students. Yes?
Non-medical incident report form, how publicized is that thing? Because this is the first time I've heard of it, and the students knowing about that would be something I would like to know at least.
So they just made it on the website. So previously it was like a paper form at events. They just digitized it last year. So they've been trying to get more people to learn about it, but
Or even like cheaped out by friends where like people are talking about these sorts of things, and that seems like a
Yes.
No, so that non-medical incident report, does that stay within the team, or is that then shared with FRC?
It's shared with FRC. If they need to reach out to the team, they will, or to the whoever it is that fills it out. I haven't had to use it. I just know that it's there, and they will eventually contact you, feeling the need that they need to have further information or a discussion about whatever the issue is. Yes.
I'm sorry to make some little bit of ways about it, but what is the non-medical incident report?
So if trying to think of a good
Inappropriate contact or something like that? Harassment?
Yes. So if, say, maybe you're at an event and someone is extremely non-gracious and they say some really mean things to you, and then you the first time you should at least report it to someone at the event, and it should be taken care of then. But if, say, they continue to do it, you could also fill it out on the non-medical incident report form. Does that clarify things a little bit? Does anyone have further? Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
You mentioned before that to be that mentors should let students do as much as possible. Do you think that includes positions on the field, like coaching and bringing a robot on, or?
My team, we have our drive coach as a student every year. We believe, yes, they should, but I also understand that there are teams that say, no, the drive coach should be an adult. Since in the rule book it does state it could be a student or adult. It's dependent on team, and I don't want to say no, there's one right way when the rule book clearly states it could be either or. So it's dependent on the team and the structure and what everyone as a whole, I think, decides upon. Any other questions? Good. Okay. So there's also these Schoology courses that they have. So you have to sign up as an instructor when you're a mentor. It's a little complicated. I'm sorry I did not actually fill out how to do it. But you can get new mentor training. So if you have a brand new mentor who has no idea what FRC is, there is a course for that. There is a course that if you are an alumni transitioning into a mentorship role, you can sign up for that course. And then there's this youth protection training, which I will also mention in the youth protection program part of this presentation. I'm going to give everyone a moment to take a photo of the screen so that way you have the codes. It is also all on the FRC website. All good? I see one phone out. Good? All right. So, youth protection. What is youth protection? It's to ensure all the participants' safety. And yes, even though it says youth, mentors, we are all young at heart. This counts for you too. So, Youth Protection Program provides information, guidelines, and procedures to create safe environments for everyone participating in FRC programs. And FRC expects all teams in the United States and Canada to adhere to all provisions of the FRC Youth Protection Program. Now, it is a booklet that they don't have physical copies of. They have it as PDF. It's 47 pages long. I tried to break down all the necessary information, so everything considered important by FRC that you need to follow. However, lead coaches and mentors may interpret and apply the recommendations in a manner that best fits their situation and best protects their team members from injury. But some things, like the things I'm going to talk about, are required. So there is a code of conduct that all of us must follow. When you sign up for FRC and you click I agree to the code of conduct, this is what you are agreeing to. So you have to ensure as a mentor, and also when you're a volunteer, you're following this code of conduct as well. You have to ensure environments where team members can learn, have fun, and feel safe. You have to have age-appropriate oversight by caring adult models, modeling integrity and respect. You You should have knowledge, experience, and skills with a positive and flexible approach. You should be encouraging to learn by doing and fostering cooperative learning, so people should be working together, so the teamwork part of it. You should have environments where team members can develop supportive relationships while observing appropriate boundaries, and diligent efforts to protect team members from harm, not just from like physical harm, but emotional and mental harm as well. So I'm going to go over these required policies, and I know this looks like a lot. I was not going to try to interpret anything legal, and this is all legal mumbo jumbo. So I just copied and pasted directly as it is in the YPP handbook. So we have any adult working with a first team who is aware of a violation of that code of conduct we just covered, or is in doubt about whether or not behavior is appropriate, is required to immediately consult a team lead, coach, or mentor. If the team lead, coach, or mentor is not the potential violator, or the hosting school or organization, and is satisfied by the guidance provided to act in accordance with it. If you are not satisfied, you can fill out that non-medical incident report that we talked about earlier. And if the individual seeking guidance is not satisfied, you also can contact First Youth Protection Department, which is LEAD. If team members and adults working in FIRST programs have concern about possible unhealthy relationships and efforts being made to form unhealthy relationships, please report your concerns to the team lead, coach, or call First Youth Protection Department. I know this is the not so fun stuff to talk about, unfortunately, but we do have to cover it. Any adult working with a first team who believes that a child may be a victim of or at risk of child abuse from any source is required to immediately report their concerns. I understand that for some people this is very obvious, because it looks like a lot of people are feeling like this is pretty obvious. Yes? No? Yeah? Alright. But first outlines it, because legally this needs to be there. So this kind of just goes on to more about other risks other than child abuse. You need to take action to remove the team members from the situation. So like, say someone put bleach and ammonia next to each other. I don't know why they would do that. And both bottles are leaking. You have to, remove students away from the situation. That's also, I feel like, one of those common sense things, but they have it there just to be safe. Again, information regarding complaints or incidents of codes of violation or non-compliance with First Youth Protection. It's treated as private information, including the identity as the individuals making the report. So if you report it and they need to contact the other party involved, they will not give them your name. They will not give them their team number. They will not say what event it was at. They'll just say, you violated the code of conduct. And it's only going to be disclosed with the appropriate people, so it'll be disclosed with Lee, and if someone higher than the vice president needs to know, then it'll be disclosed. So every first team is actually required to register 2 adults, 18 or older, as lead coaches and mentors, and they should be individuals who direct the team's day-to-day activities, and it's recommended, not required, that one of those people be 25 years older. So 25 older, that should be the main contact. If not, because you don't have someone that old or that experienced, it's fine. At the start of the season, the lead coaches and mentors are required to conduct a safety meeting, and this meeting may be combined with the team's existing start of season meeting or be held as a separate meeting. What my team does is we actually make kids do a safety test, and it takes like three meetings to get through our safety program. But you might have a one-day course based on what students are interested in shop safety, or I was on another team where we just popped in a DVD and it was a shop safety video that lasted about 2 hours, followed by a written test that they just had to mark off true or false. You don't need to have a test. You can, but it's recommended you just let everyone know the safety procedures in your shop before competition season. Oh, And it's also recommended you have a separate meeting for parents, guardians, and adults working with the team, so that way they can review all the different content. I did not put that in here. If you want to go find it in the Youth Protection Program PDF, it's on page 20. So, this is an interesting one, because I don't think anyone has heard of this one. Typically, adults working with first teams are supposed to go under training for youth protection, which is that youth protection module I talked about as a Schoology course. And what FRC defines as it is once regular involvement with your team starts and at least every 36 months thereafter. Regular involvement, though, is defined by your lead coach or mentor's judgment. And then FRC suggests if a participant is at 30% or more of the team's activities, whether it's off seasons, meetings, preseason, postseason, that kind of stuff, they should get trained. But again, this is up to the lead coach's or mentor's discretion. So we have youth protection questions. Anything? Okay. So, we're going to move on to event volunteering, because you don't just have to be a mentor to give back. Volunteering at events is also important, because we can't run competitions without mentors or just general people who want to volunteer. So why should you volunteer? You get free food. I think everyone can enjoy free food. It's one of my favorite parts. Not the best part, but it is one of my favorite parts, is free food. So why else should you volunteer? If you're an alumni, you can reconnect with other alumni. There's a lot of people who have been in this program since the very beginning that volunteer still. You also can network